This manga feels like Red Dead Redemption mixed with some Gangs of New York, mixed with a dash of Vinland Saga, and the cherry on top of Fist of the North Star. And I am talking about none other than Green Blood by Masasumi Kazazaki. Little known fact about me is that I've actually always been a huge fan of the Western genre, ever since I was a little kid and I would sit and watch the Dollars trilogy with my dad, his favorite movie being The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, which is a phenomenal film that still holds up to this day, and I highly suggest that you guys go watch it. But other than that, to have a manga take place within that genre was a huge treat for me, and something I wanted to experience for some time. I've known that Green Blood has existed for probably a couple of years now, but it took me this long to finally get around to reading it, and I am so happy that I did. Essentially, you have a story of two brothers, Brad and Luke Burns, who find themselves immigrating to America and trying to make ends meet being poor boys on the streets of New York within the first few years after the Civil War, meaning that this was a big time of change within the country, but strictly held beliefs of supremacy still swept the land. The manga begins within a place called the Five Points in New York and focuses on the underbelly of that area, mostly involving rival gangs and assassinations that are taking place. This was a very recognizable setting to me because the film Gangs of New York also takes place during this same era, and it's a movie that I highly enjoyed and has one of the best Daniel Day-Lewis performances ever. I seriously kept waiting for Bill the Butcher to show up within this manga, since the Battle of 5 Points takes place in the story and is also the opening scene of Gangs of New York. But spoiler alert, Bill never shows up. Instead, we focus on one gang in particular and how Brad, the older of the two brothers of the main characters, works as a hitman known as the Grim Reaper because he is, well, really fucking good at killing people. Looking like a mix between Guts and Alucard, Brad traverses the night with a cloak and hat and a handgun which has a bayonet attached to it for close melee combat when needed, and he is good at all of it. The artwork and double-page spreads of this manga showcase these incredible panels of action, violence, and the pain that is within these characters' hearts. Brad has vowed to keep his brother safe and help him find peace and freedom someday, and therefore sacrifices his own peace of mind and even a bit of his empathy and humanity to allow himself to become the Grim Reaper and kill so viciously as he continues to get paid, all while keeping it a secret from his younger brother. Now, when I first saw this setup, I was thinking probably the same thing that you are, that his younger brother would get killed right off the bat, sending him into a Black Swordsman-like inspired spiral. But that doesn't happen. I won't give away the entire story or any big spoilers, but Luke's development as a character is kind of the heart of the entire story. He starts out with a pureness to him, believing in this idealized version of his brother, and being free from the violence that rules the world. But as the story continues, Luke finds himself being sucked in and seduced by that world himself. However, unlike his brother, he goes on a very different path than becoming another Grim Reaper, and is very much a grounding force of what the two of them had truly wanted from the start. Watching his transition through the manga was kind of the best part of it for me, and again, without giving anything away, the latter half of this manga gives Luke so much time to shine and to show you why he is truly a valuable player within this world of Green Blood. But yes, given the subject matter, this manga is very violent and graphic with its gore. However, it does balance it out with some truly stunning and captivating visuals. And similar to something like Vagabond, the images themselves tell the story and show the emotion rather than it being very expressive through the dialogue. That isn't to say the dialogue is bad, but it's not going to blow your mind with any exquisite writing or well thought out philosophies. It's all about the artwork and the emotion. What it does give you a look at is how America was during these times, and how easily one can be corrupted and brought down to the level of inhumanity that exists within the streets and even within its leaders. It doesn't get too focused on anything political, and it stays focused on its lead characters, but it also doesn't pull any punches when it comes to how the recently freed slaves or the remaining natives were treated by the ruling classes at the time and their expanding territories. I also need to mention that the series' lead antagonist, Edward King, this guy is ridiculous. a giant muscular beast that looks like he was ripped right out of Fist of the North Star. He leads and operates a gang of criminals called the Gravediggers. This guy is smart, calculating, incredibly skilled, and also the biggest asshole of the entire story. How this man treats his children or those that are supposed to be his friends. Essentially, he has no loyalties whatsoever and is just a power-hungry madman that gets the job done, even finding a way once to turn himself in to get the bounty on his own head and then plotting his own escape after that. During the course of the story, there are plenty of tragic moments that happen within it, character deaths and so on, and a lot of them are pretty unexpected and unfairly cruel, which sets the brothers down even more of a dark path with only each other to rely on. Overall, this is a really engaging and entertaining story with incredible artwork to immerse yourself into, and like I said, I love seeing a manga take place within this Western genre. It's the type of story that seemed to be explored to death decades ago and has since kind of faded away, so it's nice to see something that's drawn so well, that has so much passion in it, that's so much fun to read, that takes me back to that type of world of gunslingers and brothels and high noon showdowns. It's a lot of fun to read. However, I do have one big glaring gripe with this manga, and it has nothing to do with the story itself. It's that while reading this manga, the thing I felt most was potential. And because this manga is so short, it's 49 chapters collected into 5 volumes, I felt like it never really got a chance to hit the peaks that I feel like it could have if the story had been a little bit more drawn out or continued from where it left off, because there's an entire world here to explore and so many different types of characters and moments you could have had. Brad and Luke were on this journey of vengeance, yes, but even in just the short amount of time that they were, a lot of harsh events and lessons crossed their paths. And I feel like if this manga had continued, then maybe it could have reached similar peaks of something like Vinland Saga, dealing with your rage, darkness, and loss, trying to find peace within a chaotic world that seems obsessed with violence. We could have had our Western Vinland, but instead the story wraps itself up within a solid 49 chapters. And look, I understand, it had a very specific story to tell, and it told it. You could have maybe chopped this up into 2 arcs, pre and post time skip, but mostly it's all one complete story. And I do respect it for that. I think it's just that I enjoyed the art and the setting and the characters so much that I wanted it to hit those high points and be even higher on my list of favorite manga. And it didn't quite get there because the length of the story doesn't really allow itself to explore beyond its main setup. And don't get me wrong, I love this manga, and it gets nothing but absolute praise from me. I guess it's just like they say, you always leave them wanting more, and with this manga, I wanted a lot more than what I got. But anyways, if action, darkness, and an 1800s gang war Western style is something that you're seriously interested in, then you need to give Green Blood a read. You definitely won't be disappointed, and like I said, at only 49 chapters, it won't be a huge time investment for you, and pretty much every chapter is on point with no filler, and it's great to read from start to finish. If you have read the series, please let me know down in the comments below what you thought about it, what your favorite part was, favorite characters, anything you want to say about Green Blood down below, maybe some similar manga if they exist out there. Also, if you did enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a like and subscribe to the channel. Trying to hit 100k subscribers this year, so I'd really appreciate it if you help me out. There's also links in the description below for my Patreon and merch store if you want to support the channel on that extra level. Completely up to you. Other than that, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.